The ayahs in which we have in the Quran, they refer to this term of Arbaeen as if it's something, unique and special, meaning the number Arbaeen, the number 40th, or the number 40 has this, great amount of importance when it comes to a religious text. وَوَعَدْنَا مُوسَى 30 لَيْلَةً وَأَتْمَمْنَاهَا بِعَشْرٍ. First, we gave this promise to Nabi Musa for 30 days, and then we extended that 30 days with a plus 10 days, which added up to 40 days, right? So this number of 40, we see it in the Quran. And then when we look at the riwayas, when we look at in ahadith, Allah, mashallah, we have ahadith in which they talk about, different forms of practices within the period of time of 40 days. Or some of the influence and effects of a specific act which carries through for 40 days. Right? For example, I mentioned one yesterday. If you have one bite of haram, your prayers, your request, your du'as, and your salat will not be accepted for 40 days, right? Or when you recite your salatul layl, you're supposed to pray for 40 of your brothers or 40 of your sisters, 40 of the mu'minin and mu'minat. When we go and take a look at the akhlaqi books, right? The period of time in which they say you have to focus on a specific character to make sure that he actually gets embedded within you is 40 days. They call it the Arbaeen days, meaning that, for example, you want to focus on yourself and you try to break your arrogance, right? You have to keep it up for 40 days at least to make sure that you have that under control. Then you move on to the next character. For example, you want to be more patient, right? Again, for an amount of 40 days, you focus mainly and solely on the attribute or the character of being patient. Then you move on to, like, for example, being just, being more fair, and every character in which we speak of, you have to put it into practice in the duration of 40 days. So this number 40, right, expresses its magnificence when it comes to the teachings of religion. Second part of the equation is the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein. I'm sure everybody here even knows more than I that how great is the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein. How can we actually drive this from our text again? When we look at the books such as Kamil al-Ziyarat. Kamil al-Ziyarat is one of the most authentic books that we have, and one of the most reliable books that we have in terms of the ziyarat, right? So it has different chapters, right? About like ziyarat of Hazrat Rasul Akram, ziyarat of like Amir al-Mu'mineen, ziyarat of Lady Fatima al-Zahra, and all the way it goes one by one, right? So when we take a look at the index, right, of the book, we see, for example, for Rasulullah, we have one chapter. For Amir al-Mu'mineen, we have one chapter. For Lady Fatima al-Zahra, we have one chapter, right? But when the book gets to the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, it just continues, right? It becomes chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, all of them in regards to ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein in different aspects. Ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein in specific time, ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein general timing, ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein in specific, for example, Eids, right? Ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein from long distance, from short distance, to what extent one should do the ziyarat, right? What's the minimum amount that each person has to do the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, right? The condition, the etiquettes of ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein. It just goes and goes and goes. I think it's about 15 or 16 different chapters, exclusively for the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah Hussein. Just from these numbers, you can tell the difference of how big of importance the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein contains, right? That even at the time of Imam al-Ma'soom, when they were alive, such as Imam al-Sadiq, such as Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salatu wassalam, they would deliberately order and command their Shias and followers to go and do the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein. We have Imam al-Ma'soom live right there, but he would tell us to go and do and offer the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein. Even more, Imam Musa al-Kazim, he becomes sick, right? So he cannot go to the ziyarat himself. What does he do? He gives some money to one of the Shias, to one of the followers, and he tells them, go to the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein on my behalf and pray for my cure, pray for my health under the dome of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. In another riwayah, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala he gets spotted by one of the Shias as he's holding this green small bag with him. And he was extremely overprotective of this bag. So this Shia, this companion of Imam al-Sadiq, he approaches Imam and he starts asking questions. And he tells Imam that, I know you as the Imam of mercy and generosity, right? If anybody comes up to you and asks you for anything, not only you would give them that whatever they have asked, but you actually will provide more than what they have asked. So what's in the bag that you're so overprotective of this bag? What's so special inside of this bag, right? I'm sure it's not money, because you guys give money away just like that. I'm sure it's not something of the material, right? Or because you just give away those stuff like, as easy as that. So what is it that you're containing with this bag that you're like, overprotective of it, and you're constantly looking for it, and you're constantly checking up on it and making sure it's in the right place, it's in the right condition. Imam Sadiq ﷺ looks at this companion and tells him, do you know what's inside of this bag? The turbat of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, my grandfather. It is the turbat in which I do my sujood on, and by doing my sujood on this turba, these obstacles, this hijab, and he calls them these 7 obstacles, the hijabs which have 7 layers, right? Those 7 layers of hijab gets removed from me. This is Imam al-Ma'soom, right? Telling us that by doing a sujood on the turbat of Imam al-Hussein, these spiritual hijabs or these spiritual obstacles, gets actually removed. So when his turba is capable of doing such a thing, he has, such a high, in terms of functions, right? Imagine what would his ziyarat actually do to our soul. Imagine what would his ziyarat do to our, a spiritual path and a spiritual journey. So when it comes to terms of the rewards, we see, mashallah, so many riwayats, and all of them, they talk about different rewards of the person who actually makes the intention of offering the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein. Now let's put these two together, Arbaeen and ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, and let's conclude with why the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein on the day of Arbaeen is so important, right? Now when we look at the riwayats, I'll give you just one of them. It talks about the rewards of a person who makes the intention of doing the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein on the day of Arbaeen. The riwayah says, for every step that this person takes, doesn't matter whether it be he or she, right? From his or her home all the way to the shrine of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. For every step, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them the reward of an accepted Hajj and Umrah. Right? Hajj and Umrah is an obligatory act, right? It's something that we have to do at least once per day if we are mustati. It's one of the highest rituals that we have. For every step that you take from your home to the holy shrine of Imam al-Hussein, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you the reward of an accepted Hajj and Umrah, right? And then similar riwayah to this one talks about a reward of 70 Hajj and Umrahs for every step that you take for the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein. A third riwayah talks about 1,000 accepted Hajj and Umrahs for the person who takes a step towards the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein for every step. So I did a little bit search on Google, what's the distance from here, from Sabah, all the way to the holy shrine of Imam al-Hussein in Karbala. It was about 8,000 miles, right? And in every mile, average, right, you have about 2,000 steps. So do a calculation. What's 8,000 times 2,000? That's about what? 8,000 times 2,000. 16, 6 zeros. What's 16, 6 zeros? 16 million, right? For every step you take from here to the land of Karbala, to the holy shrine of Imam al-Hussein, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you 16 million accepted Hajj and Umrahs, inshallah. Of course, they talk about what's the difference between the rewards, and they mention the different rewards. It reflects based on the different level of the pilgrim, different level of desire. How much of the ma'rifah we have when we go for the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, that's going to play a major role in how much rewards we're going to get, right? If somebody's like me and he just goes for the ziyarah just to go for traveling, and he looks at the ziyarah as a traveling, getaway, I won't get that much rewards. But if someone starts this journey with a clear intention, with the good ma'rifah of Imam, of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him all the bounties and blessings that he or she actually could not even possibly imagine of, right? So these are just slight different aspects of the rewards of doing the ziyarat of Imam Hussein on such a beloved day, right? Now what about us, right? We didn't have the chance to actually do the ziyarah this year, as our dear Shaykh mentioned in his speech. We are left alone, or we are left behind. They use this term of Baz Mande in Farsi, those who intend for something, but for some reason, for whatever reason, they cannot actually, catch that bus, they cannot catch that ark, they cannot catch that, vessel just to get to the destination in time. What about for us? Do we have some riwayas in which it includes us as well in the day of Arbaeen? Or is it for only those who actually make the effort and make the hard work and they go to the land of Karbala? The answer is yes. Even for those who cannot make it to the city of Karbala on this day, again, we have a whole chapter of riwayas in which they talk about different cases in which they went to the Imam al-Ma'sum and they asked a similar question. Actually, Imam al-Ma'sum asked them first, right? Saying that, are you going to the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein? They were saying no. Then Imam would say, do you go at least once a year? They were saying no. Then Imam would say, do you go at least once a month? He would say no, it was at least once a week because they were closer to the shrine of Imam al-Hussein, right? Then, for example, the Imam al-Ma'sum would tell him, how come you're not going to the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein? You have to at least go once a year, right? Then they would, come up with their excuses. They would say, oh, life is hard. Women and children that have grown up, I have to take them to school, I have to bring them back home, I have to do this, I have to study for my PhD, I have to go here, there, and there, and there, and there, all of these excuses, right? So what did Imam tell them? It's like, that's fine. If you cannot go to the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, make sure you go on the roof of your house, point towards the holy shrine of Imam al-Hussein, and recite his ziyarat. When you look at the Imam's ziyarat, there are so many. There's a short one, there's a long one, right? Based on however you feel. You have time, you're patient enough, do the lengthy one. If you're tired, if you don't feel like it, do the shorter one. And the shortest of all is the very simple ziyarat in which we recite every day, right? Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa ala al-arwah allati hallat bifanaik ila akhir, till the end of the ziyarah. It's about 4 or 5 different lines, right? So this was the simplest of ziyarats, right? And even further than that, we have other riwayas in which they talk about when people gather around with this intention of commemorating for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, right? Again, the riwayah was mentioned by my colleague, right? So that majlis becomes the majlis in which the angels actually come and participate. Why? There is this interesting connection between the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein and the topic of Mi'raj of Rasulullah. Everybody knows what happened at the Mi'raj. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took the Holy Prophet and ascended him towards the skies, right? So basically, the only human who went to the spiritual realm and came back was Rasulullah. Now, at the same line, they say what Abu Abdullah al-Hussein did, he actually created this place for the Mi'raj of the spiritual beings to come down to the earth. Why do we say this? Because we have this riwayah in which says that every night, right, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends 70,000 of his angels to the holy shrine of Abu Abdullah Hussein, and they stay there and they circle, they do tawaf around the holy shrine of Imam al-Hussein till the morning, right? And they return to the sky. The next day, a new set of 70,000 angels, they come down, right? And the next day, new set of 70,000 of angels will come down. And this continues and continues and continues. But the best part is the riwayah says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has so many angels, right? That every single angel gets only one time chance, right? Till the day of Qiyamah to come and do the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein. And that's the only chance they get. So that's why they call the holy shrine of Imam al-Hussein the place of Mi'raj, of spiritual beings who come down to earth. This is how important is his ziyarah. This is how important is his holy shrine, right? So we have to actually take this as the greatest bounty that we have. Every morning that we get up, we can easily do this ziyarah from our home and do 2 rakats of the ziyarah. And inshallah, plan for it that at least once a year we can go and offer the ziyarah. If not, once in 2 years. But have this, in our schedule and have this in our daily, lifetime plan. Don't just postpone it and then say, oh, inshallah, one day I will get to it. No. It's interesting. For Hajj, which is wajib, they say one of the condition in which becomes wajib after your mustati is that you have this, sense of safety. So imagine if you're mustati, if you have enough money to actually offer the Hajj, but the condition, right, the circumstance of the time is that, you feel unsafe of going and, offering the Hajj. Then you are excused because it's not safe. But interesting, for the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, this condition is not there. It's actually opposite. Meaning that in a lot of riwayas, our Imam Sumi were telling, the followers that even despite of the danger being there, still go to the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein. So how does this make sense? That's a wajib, right? And for that wajib, you have this condition of having safety. But for ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, which everybody calls it a mustahab act, right? They remove this condition. This is why a lot of akhlaqi teachers, they say this will make a unique case for the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein. It brings it up so high as if it's wajib, but it's not wajib based on jurisprudence. It's wajib based on the akhlaqi approach, right? So some of them actually use the term wajib for it, right? Because again, there is no condition for it. Go to the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein despite of the circumstance. Try to be there as much as possible. Try to stay there as much as possible. Try to just get closer and closer to Imam al-Hussein as much as possible. Different ways of doing it. Of course, the best of the way is going to the ziyarah. Now, alhamdulillah, we're blessed to actually participate in the majlis of Imam al-Hussein on the day of Arbaeen. So I'm going to keep it short, and inshallah we can spend more time on the masa'ib. I'll just leave you with one more hadith, in which is the famous hadith regarding this importance of ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein on the day of Arbaeen. And that's the famous hadith of Imam al-Sadiq, in which he says, Alamatul mu'mini khamsun. The mu'min, the believer, has 5 signs. Number 1, Salatul Ihda wal Khamsin, reciting 51 rak'ah of prayer per day. Number 2, Ziyaratul Arbaeen. Number 3, Wattakhattumu fil Yamin, having a ring on the right hand. Number 4, Wata'afirul Jabin, putting his forehead on dust. And number 5, Wal Jahru bi Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. When they recite the Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim in their prayers or in general, they recite it out loud. Now, Ayatollah Jawadi Amali makes a very interesting comment on this hadith. He says, take a look at these 5 signs, right? The first one is 51 rak'ah, right? Meaning including the wajibat and the mustahabbat in terms of the salat, right? You have 51 rak'ah when you have the obligatory and the recommended rak'ahs in one day, right? So that's number 1. And then sign number 2, immediately after the salat, is what? Ziyarat of Arbaeen. This has indication. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, well, not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but Imam al-Ma'asum is telling us that if you have salat in one hand and salat combination of wajibat and mustahabbat in one stage, one step, the second step right after that, and the same level of that one is ziyarat of Arbaeen. Then he continues, he says, if you take a look at the teachings of Islam, if we concentrate it and we try to summarize it, right, we come down to specific pillars and principles. We know one of the pillars of the religion of Islam is as-salat. As-salatu amud ad-din, right? Then he concludes from this one. He says, the pillar of the concentrate of the wilaya is the ziyarat of Arbaeen. MashaAllah. So inshallah, Allah gives us the tawfiq to actually participate in the March of Arbaeen and be among those zairs of Imam al-Hussein. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa ala al-arwah allati hallat bifanaik. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر اللهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب. There is this great story, true story from one of the great ulamas. He says, one day I was going for the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein. In the car that I was sitting, there was this young fella, there was this youth, a younger gentleman who was sitting right next to me. But when I looked at him, he seemed like he wasn't that religious. He had shaved beard, he was wearing specific type of clothing. From the look of him, it seemed like he's not that much of a religious person. So not much was going between us. We would not talk as much, just the basic salamun alaikum and like the very basic stuff. He said as we were going on these streets, like and then on this path to the land of Karbala, all of a sudden he started crying, and he was crying so hard that I could see his shoulders shaking. I waited a little bit, and I waited a little bit, and I waited a little bit. Once he finished crying, I asked him, "Oh, young man, what made you cry so hard?" Out of the blue. He looked at me, and his eyes were all filled with tears and had become red due to crying so hard. And he told me, "Oh Hajaga, oh Maulana, if I do not tell you, who else can I tell?" Then he started telling me his story. He told me that I was not a religious person. I grew up in a family in which none of my parents, they were religious. So I didn't get any religious teachings. I had no idea of what religion means and what the school of thought of Shiism means. So I was just growing up without having faith. As I grew up, I finished my school, I got a good job, everything was good, and I was always hanging out with my friends after my work. One day in which we had this gathering with my friends and we were doing our normal daily stuff, I felt very bad inside of me. I felt as it was the whole inside of me was empty. I could not find a way out of it. So I took a step out. I separated myself from my friends. I went upstairs. I found an empty room. I went inside. I locked the door. And I just found the corner. And I sat down. And I just put my head down. And I started crying and crying and crying. I didn't know who to call, who to name, and what to ask. All I said, it was like, "Oh God, that I don't know you. If you do exist, help me." This is the only sentence I said that night. And I was just crying so much that I didn't want to go back to my friend and attend the party anymore. Couple of days passed. After a couple of days, they gave me this mission to go. They gave me this job contract that I had to go to, and it was in a different city. So I purchased my train ticket, and I booked my hotel. Everything was set, everything in order. The minute I went to actually go and catch my train, I start feeling a little bit weak. As I was getting closer and closer to the train to actually get on the train, I felt so weak and so bad, and my fever started going up so much that I could barely walk. So I just laid there on the ground on the side of the train station. My coworkers, they came to me, they started looking at me, and they were telling me, like, "What happened? You were just healthy like a second ago. How come you're like this?" This person talking to that person, they called the doctor. The doctor came, he actually took a look at me, and he told me, like, "This way, it's better for you not to go for this travel that you have ahead of you." So they let me to go back home and rest a little bit. I was going to rest a little bit, then all of a sudden, this person came to my room. And he was one of the scholars of the time. I did not know who he was. He came to my room and he looked at me and he told me, "How are you?" He called me by my name. He called me by my last name. And he started talking to me about having faith and about having these principles of religion. He was teaching me one by one. I didn't know what to say because I was feeling, the heat of the fever. And at the same time, this guy was, there, and he was trying to teach me about this religion. So I just listened to him out of like not having any choice. Once he finished, he said, "Remember this stuff, and I will come back and I will ask you again one more time." He said this and he got up and he left the room. When he left the room, I found myself like feeling good again, feeling completely healthy. So I got up and I went after him. I saw there is nobody out there. So I told to myself, "Who was this guy? I don't know. What was he saying?" A couple of days passed again. So my friends called me again, and they called me again to go and attend their party. I went to their party again, and this time they were doing all of their normal stuff. And it slipped my hand, and I actually committed a sin on that party as well. The minute I did that one, I started feeling this very shameful sense of feeling within my heart again. So I immediately left my friends, and I immediately left the house, and I went back, and I was just walking alleys from alleys to another alley. Again, I found myself at my home. And I was just sitting there and repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whatever I have done, and again asking humbly for that piece of advice and piece of guidance. Again, somebody knocked on my door. I opened the door, I saw the same alim. He came in, he sat down, he told me to sit down right next to him, and he told me, "Are you ashamed of what you have done?" The minute he told me this, I started crying out again. How did he know about what I have done at the party? No one else was there. He wasn't there. He waited for me. Once I finished, then he started telling me the principles of religion one more time. And he started having this very short course of what the religion means. So then he actually told me to, go and to see him, for example, once a week or twice a week. After a couple of months of going and getting lectures from him, he told me to get up, pack your stuff, and make a trip for the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein. So, oh Shaykh, this path that I'm going is out of the command or out of the order, out of the teaching that alim actually told me. So now that I'm going, I am in a stage that I don't know where I'm going, but I know no matter how closer we get to the city of Karbala, I feel more and more of a purpose within myself. So that Shaykh says, I was very touched by the story, and I couldn't know what to say. So for most of the route, we were keeping in silence. The minute we passed the border of the city of Karbala, the Shaykh says that this young man started crying again. So now I took advantage of the time and I told him, what happened this time? Why are you crying again? He turned around and he looked at me. He says, aren't you seeing what's happening? I told him, no, I'm not understanding what you're saying. I'm not following you. He told me, as we passed this border of the city of Karbala, Hazrat Abul Fazl al-Abbas was standing there and he was welcoming us to the city of Imam al-Hussein. The story of Imam al-Hussein is a unique story. So we have to mourn for him in a unique way. Our salam upon you, O Aba Abdullah. Our salam be upon you, O Shaheed of Karbala. Our salam be upon you, O Qatil al-Amarat. Our salam be upon you, O Sayyida al-Shuhada. Our salam be upon you, O Master Youth of Paradise. Our salam be upon you, O Hussein ibn Ali. Our salam be upon you, O the fifth member of Al-Abba. Our salam be upon you, O grandson of Rasulullah. Our salam be upon you, O Hussein, O Mazlum, O Adl Shah. Today the caravan of Imam al-Hussein makes a return to the land of Karbala. But what a caravan! When we go to a ziyarah, as we coming back to our home, everybody gets together. They start talking about the memories of their trips. Oh, do you remember we went to this place? Oh, do you remember we stayed at this hotel? Oh, do you remember that night we went for this? We went to this place and we did that and we did this. What about the caravan of Imam al-Hussein? What about the women and the children? Now what do they have to talk about? Now what do they have to speak about? Now what do they have to remember after 40 days from the day of Ashura? You can imagine what's happening with these children and the women. For so long, for so many times, they were not allowed to actually mourn properly for Imam al-Hussein. The very first chance that they actually had to mourn for Abu Abdullah was in the wreckage of Sham. When Lady Ruqayya woke up in the middle of the night, she started crying and asking for her father. Through her cries, all the women and children started crying so hard that Mal'oon woke up from his dream. That was the first time they actually got a proper chance of mourning. Now imagine what happens when they get a proper chance to actually mourn for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein as they enter the city of Karbala. They go and they approach the holy shrine, the holy grave of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. But this caravan is missing one piece. It's missing one dear piece. And that is Lady Ruqayya. Oh Imam al-Hussein, we have come back to you. We have come back to pay our allegiance to you, but unfortunately, these days Lady Ruqayya is not among us. Now when they look back, what do they remember? They talk about the day of Ashura. They say, oh, do you remember when the companions, when the Ashab started entering the battlefield? Do you remember when Muslim went to the battle? Do you remember when Habib went to the battle? Do you remember when the army attacked us when we were doing our Zuhr prayer? Do you remember they released the arrows on us as we were praying? Do you remember the companions of Abu Abdullah catching those arrows by their hands and by their bodies and by their necks? Do you remember the brothers of Abul Fazl al-Abbas as they were protecting the Imam 24/7 and they were getting all the hits and all the arrows which was released towards Imam by their bodies, trying to defend Imam from getting hit by all of those military men? Do you remember when the time came for Bani Hashim? Do you remember when Ali and Al-Akbar went to the battlefield? Do you remember his farewell with his father Imam al-Hussein? Do you remember the second one from Bani Hashim? Do you remember Hazrat Qasim as he came up and he was looking at Imam al-Hussein and he says, oh uncle, do you have permission to go to the battlefield? Imam al-Hussein took a good look at Qasim and he started crying. Qasim started crying. We have it in the Maqatil. They embraced each other so hard and they were both crying so hard that they fainted due to crying so much. After a couple of minutes, they both got up, and this time Imam al-Hussein helped Qasim to get up, and he told them, oh, the memory of my brother Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba. If you really want to go, you are free to go. This is your choice. He goes, he enters the battlefield. One of the enemies spots him from behind, and then he sees, when he entered the battlefield, I noticed that this youth is coming to the battlefield, whose face is as bright as the sun, and I noticed that he's not wearing any armor. I noticed that his shoelaces were open, it was untied, and it was specifically his left shoe that the laces of it was untied. So I told myself, and I made the promise, and I made a pact to myself, that wallah, I'm not going to stop fighting until I get to him and until I murder him. My other colleague was telling me, what's wrong with you? He's just a young fella, he's just a young youth. I told him, wallah, I'm not going to stop until I make sure his mother starts mourning for him. So I took a charge against Qasim ibn al-Hasan and I went after him from the blind side and I hit him as strong as I could and he fell on the ground and he says, oh uncle, ya Abu Abdullah. Imam al-Hussein charges against the battlefield. He goes towards the Qatl-Gah. He pushes back everybody. He goes to the Qasim. He embraces him. And this time Qasim is actually dragging his legs on the land out due to the severe pain. Imam al-Hussein lifts up the Qasim, but mashallah his legs is dragging on the ground as he's going back to the tents. He takes the body of Qasim back to the tent. He lays it down alongside of Ali and Al-Akbar. He sat down there for a second. He looks to the right. He sees Ali and Al-Akbar being chopped up into pieces. He looks at his left. He sees Qasim ibn Hassan, the memory of his brother being murdered right there in front of his eyes. He put one hand around Ali and Al-Akbar. He put the other hand around Qasim. And he started mourning for both of them at the same time.
But let's fast forward a little bit. Once all the Bani Hashim have gone, once Abul Fazl Abbas goes for bringing water, once all has been done and said, now comes the time for the king to say farewell to the women and children. He goes to the tents of the women and children and he calls and he says, Assalamu alaykum minna ya ahl al-khiyam. Peace be upon you from me, oh the women and children of the khiyam. This is my farewell to you. We have it in the Maqatil that all of the women and children, they circled around Imam al-Hussein. Everybody's trying to say their farewell to Imam al-Hussein. But we have it in Maqatil that one of the women didn't actually get a chance to say farewell to her husband, and that was Rabah. She couldn't get a chance to say farewell to her husband. They asked him why. She said, well, when we was there, I could see Lady Zainab, I could see Kulsum, I could see baby Sakina, I could see Ruqayya. They were the family of Imam al-Hussein. So I was ashamed of going and saying goodbye to my husband. So I could not say farewell to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Wallah yawmka yawmika ya Abu Abdullah. When they entered the palace of Ubaidullah in Kufa, they said they brought the head of Imam al-Hussein and they placed it in front of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. The very first person who went after the head of Imam al-Hussein was Bibi Rabah. She went for it, she hugged the head of Imam al-Hussein, she embraced her, and then she was talking to Imam al-Hussein and she was saying the farewell to Imam al-Hussein then in the city of Kufa. Imam says his farewell to the women and children. He gets on the horse and he's about to go towards the battlefield, but the horse doesn't move. Imam looks in front of the horse and he sees Bibi Sukaina standing right in front of the horse. He looks at Bibi Sukaina, he says, my dear one, what is wrong? How come you're standing right here? She says, Father, not like this, I want you to get down from the horse. Imam Hussein comes down from the horse, he looks at Bibi Sukaina, he says, what is it, my dear one? She says, oh Father, now that you're going to the Qatlegah, who is going to look after us? Oh Father, I remember when the news of the martyrdom of Muslim reached you, you went to his children and you told them from now on you're going to be their father, you're going to be in charge for them. You sat them on your lap and you started petting their hair. Oh Father, who is going to pet my hair after you're gone? Oh Father, who is going to look after us once you're gone? Oh Father, can you take us back to Medina? Can you take us back to our hometown? Imam al-Hussein started crying out loud. I told him, oh my dear one, do not burn, do not hurt my heart, do not break my heart any more than it is. You have so many days to cry after I'm gone. He gets back on the horse. He heads out towards the Qatlegah. He fights well for some time, but it's one versus so many people. He gets tired a little bit. He goes to the side and he stands there just for a split of second to catch his breath. That non-Ajib comes and he throws the rock at the face of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. The rock hits the forehead of Imam al-Hussein. Some blood starts coming out of the wound. Imam al-Hussein says, Bismillah wa billah wa ala millat Rasulullah. He pulls up his shirt to actually wipe out the blood from his forehead. When that mal'oon sees the chest of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and he aims for it with an arrow, with a three-headed arrow, he releases the arrow towards Imam al-Hussein. The arrow hit Imam al-Hussein so hard that no matter what Imam did, he could not pull out the arrow from his front. So he pushes back the arrow and then he pulls it out from his back. The blood starts gushing out from the chest of Imam al-Hussein. So Imam takes his palm under his blood. The first palm, he pours it towards the sky. They say none of the drops came back down. He pours his palm again one more time from the blood and he puts it on his face and he covers his beard with his own blood. And he says, Wallah, this is the way I want to be actually witnessed, and this is the way I want to be at the presence of Allah on the Day of Judgment. Blood was going out so much that Imam al-Hussein was feeling this weakness within him. So now little by little he cannot sit on the horse. They have it in Maqatil that the horse acknowledged this. So he goes down and he kneels down close to the Qawdal of Qatlegah, so that Imam al-Hussein can actually lay back on the Qawdal instead of falling down. Oh Abul Fazl Abbas, where was the horse when you were coming back towards the Khiyam? And they had severed your right arm and then they had severed your left arm. You were left out with no arms as they attack you with the arrows, and they hit you on the head with the club, and you fell down on the ground with no arms to actually block yourself from hitting the ground. Imam lays down on the plain of Karbala. Now enemy sees that it is their chance, so they start attacking Imam al-Hussein. The first person who starts taking charge around Imam al-Hussein, he hits him with a spear on his side. The second one comes up, he hits Imam al-Hussein with an arrow in his neck. The third one comes up, he hits Imam al-Hussein between the shoulders. Another one comes up, he hits Imam al-Hussein on the side with a sword. So everybody was coming by and everybody was taking a piece at grandson of Rasulullah. Then Imam al-Hussein, as he is laying there, he has absolutely no more energy. He keeps on saying, هَلْ مِن نَاصِرٍ يَنْصُرُنِي هَلْ مَنْ يَزُبُّ. Is there anybody who can protect the family and the children of Rasulullah? So some of the enemies, they actually make charges towards the tents of Abu Abdullah. Imam al-Hussein gathers his energy and he looks at him. He says, "Oh, Shia to Allah Abi Sufyan, if you have no religion, at least be free, man. At least have dignity. At least have values." They ask him, "What are you talking about, oh Hussein ibn Ali?" He tells them, "As long as I'm alive, leave the women and children out of this fight." So they make a U-turn and they go back towards Imam al-Hussein. They surrounded the Imam al-Hussein and everybody's trying to do whatever they can just to get back at Imam al-Hussein. One of the reporters here says a very interesting thing. He says, "I was so close to Imam al-Hussein at the last minute, but I could never see and I never saw a person just like Imam al-Hussein. He was covered in wounds, he was covered in blood, he was covered in dust, yet again his face was as bright as the full moon of the 14th night of the month. I could never see and I could never understand what was going on through Imam al-Hussein." As they're circling around the Imam, they start doing Harbala. When they do Harbala, Lady Zainab hears it. She comes out and she goes to the Talla Zainabiyya. Those who have gone to Karbala, they know the Talla Zainabiyya is higher than the Godal of Qatlegah. Once you go there, you can easily see what's going on in the Godal. As she goes up that Talla Zainabiyya, she takes a look at the Qatlegah and she sees her lovely brother Imam al-Hussein laying down on the plains of Karbala. All of these tyrants, soldiers around him, and everybody's either hitting him or beating him or kicking him. She shouts out, "Oh people, oh hypocrites, oh munafiqeen, oh Umar Assad, aren't you guys Muslims? Aren't you guys going to put him out of the misery that he is in?" We have it in the Maqatil that Umar Assad looks aside, looks around, and he turns around his face, and he's just whipping, and he's whipping with what he is doing. But this Hubbud Dunya does not let him to actually stop this. So he orders Shem to go ahead and finish up Imam al-Hussein. We have it that Shem comes, he breaks through the circle. He comes and he approaches the grandson of Rasulullah. But how does he approach Imam al-Hussein? The very first thing he does, he kicks Imam al-Hussein on his side. Then he sits down on his chest. He pulls out the dagger. He holds on to the beard of Imam al-Hussein. But instead of going for the neck of Imam al-Hussein, he pulls out the dagger and starts hitting Imam al-Hussein in the body. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 times he hit Imam al-Hussein in his body. Then he goes for the neck of Abu Abdullah. He separates the head from the body of Imam al-Hussein. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. فسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي انقلب منقلبون. يا الله اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم العز الأجل الأكرم الآي بحق محمد وعلي وفاطمة والحسن والحسين وتسعة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين. Let's remember all the marhumin and marhumat, mu'minin and mu'minat. And let's do one short ziyarat of Abu Abdullah. Just say, Assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن وعلى أولاد وعلى أصحاب. Oh Allah, on the right of Imam al-Hussein, on the right of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, forgive all of our past sins. Oh Allah, forgive all of our past ones. Oh Allah, cure all of our sick ones. Oh Allah, remove the difficulties and the calamities and the problems from all of the brothers and sisters around the world. Oh Allah, we'll ask you humbly to give us the tawfiq of ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein in this world and give us his shafa'a intercession in the hereafter. Oh Allah, we'll ask you humbly to accept this majlis from us and to put our name among those true mourners and true grievers of Imam al-Hussein. Oh Allah, we'll ask you humbly to give us the tawfiq to be part of those czars who actually do ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein on the day of Arbaeen. Oh Allah, we'll ask you humbly to protect our future generations and our children. Oh Allah, we'll ask you humbly to continue guiding us on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, to put our life, the life of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, and to make our death a death of Ali Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Oh Allah, we'll ask you, out of your mercy and out of your passion, to resurrect us with Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and to give us the permission to be part of his true Shias. Let's remember all the marhumin and marhumat by reciting a salawat followed by Surah Al-Fatiha. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله 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 بأبي Aba Abdullah, my Sakina, come to me, my sweet. Come and give your father a kiss on his cheek, my sweet. My Sakina, come to me, my sweet. Come and give your father a kiss on his cheek, my sweet. I only hope you will find a way up to me here. I only hope you will find a way up to me here. Look above you, my head on a spear. Bi anta wa ummi, Aba Abdullah. 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 Bi anta wa ummi. Bi anta wa Abdullah. Oh my father, be you proud of me. Yesterday in Karbala, Akbar became Shaheed. Oh my father, be you proud of me. Yesterday in Karbala, Akbar became Shaheed. Don't you worry anymore, I'm now so happy here. Don't you worry anymore, I'm now so happy here. comfortably resting on the tip of the spear. Bi'abi anta wa ummi ya Aba Abdullah. 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 Bi'abi Abdullah, my Sakina, how you need to rest. Let Daddy lull you asleep, put your head on my chest. My Sakina, how you need to rest. Let Daddy lull you asleep, put your head on my chest. Just forgive me, for I cannot kiss or stroke your head. Just forgive me, for I cannot kiss or stroke your head. Look away, please look away, they have taken my head. Bi'abi anta wa ummi Aba Abdullah. Ummi ya Aba Abdullah. Bi'abi anta wa ummi ya Aba Abdullah. Bi'abi anta wa ummi ya Aba Abdullah. Bi'abi anta wa ummi ya Aba Abdullah. Bi'abi anta Lady Zainab, don't you worry so. You are the daughter of the great caliph, this they know. Lady Zainab, don't you worry so. You are the daughter of the great caliph, this they know. They'll seat you on a throne and honor you so well. They'll seat you on a throne and honor you so well. She's sitting in the street, around her neck is a robe. Bi'abi anta wa ummi ya Aba Abdullah. Bi'abi anta wa ummi ya Aba Abdullah. Bi'abi anta wa ummi ya Aba Abdullah. Bi'abi anta Ya Aba Abdullah. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there, leave me there. Hussein, Hussein. Hussein, oh my Abbas, Abbas, bravest of us. Where is Abbas? Abbas, Abbas. Of words that are true, I say this of you. No brother on earth is truer than you. No more could you give, no more could you do. Abbas. This uncle of mine, so tall and so strong, will soon quench my thirst before long. They say he has died, but they must be wrong. Abbas. Of all those who've loved, their love is outdone by the love that you had for Fatima's son. From the day that you were born, the blaze had begun. Abbas. Who else can claim that Imam Hussein wanted no other and called out his name? My back is broken, who else remains? Abbas. The legend still stands, they speak of a man who charged like a lion and gave both his hands. You're watching the water, it pours on the sand. Abbas. The bridges are down in our lands today. The bombs of injustice have made it that way. Our men are in prison, our children in pain. Abbas. We call out your name, for we need your aid. The foes of your father have waged a crusade. O son of Ali, we call on your blade. Abbas.
Don't tell me of heroes, there's only Abbas, protector of Hussein, the one Ali trusts. They cut him and stabbed him, but he's still with us.
Abbas, 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 Ya Hussein.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي أيها المجتبى، السلام عليك يا حسين بن علي يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين أيها الزين العابدين، السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي أيها الباقر، السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق، السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر أيها الكاظم، السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا، السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي أيها الجواد، السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد أيها الهادي، السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي أيها العسكري، السلام عليك يا صاحب الزمان الإمام الإنس والجان، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك، السلام عليك يا مولاي العجل 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 جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. Let's recite the dua faraj all together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم
كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.